Hello. Okay, so this is a game project that I made with a bunch of electronics and a bunch of wood. Basically, it's a box which has one, two, three buttons and two LCD screens. And there's supposed to be two players, one who looks at this LCD screen, one on the opposite end who looks at the other. The way it works is that you push the middle button starting the game. It tells you how to play the game. Then you basically fight your opponent in how many times you can push the button in 20 seconds versus how many times they can push the button in 20 seconds. And at the end, it tells you who wins. This is different from a basic tug of war because there's a limited time, and you cannot see the other person's score during the entirety of the game until the very end. So I'll show you the code, and then I'll show you how the game actually works and some quirks. Okay, cool. So it's a very long code, but it's very simple. So at the very top, there is a we declare the integers player 1 and player 2, which are the scores for each player. For reference, player 1 is going to be the blue side, player 2 is the yellow side. Then we have this is for an interrupt that's found in the textbook Principles of Engineering. Then we have a bunch of LCD code. You'll notice that we have LCD1 and LCD2. This is because we have two different LCDs wired to the same Arduino. And there's a very interesting way to do so and to code this, but I'm going to save you the details. Now in the void setup, we have the more interrupt code, the LCD setup code, and the pin mode for pin 13, which is the green button, which starts the game. Okay, then we have the two interrupt voids, which basically say one is if it's less than however much time this is to get rid of the debounce, as it's described in said textbook. Then you add an amount to player 2, and if the same thing for player 1. Okay, now the void loop. So at the most basic level, the game says press the green button to play on both screens, and it updates this every 10 milliseconds. The reason it's 10 milliseconds, we have to have a delay because it's better to have a small delay than no delay. And at the very big, and as you can see, this is exactly what's happening. Then, if either player pushes the green button, it clears. I'm just gonna skip all the times that it says LCD.clear or LCD.setCursor or the delays. The delays are there for timing, obviously, and I'm just gonna tell you what it says. So first, it says, here's how you play. And then it waits a second, and then it says you have to push your button more times than your opponent, and it says you only have 20 seconds. Then it says, ready, 3, 2, 1, and then it says go, and then a for loop occurs, which it lasts, it happens 125 times, each time lasts a certain amount of time, and during each of those 125 times, each LCD screen says your score, and each LCD screen is updated to the player's score by how many times they push the button because of the interrupt, and it's immediately printed over here. For each player, it's different because there are two players. And then we have this integer instead of keeping it if player. Let me re-explain. We have to then have three situations. Either player 1 wins, player 2 wins, or there's a tie. Now, we can't say if player 1 is greater than player 2 because then the score you could still add to the score even after the game ends. Even after it says it says hands up and it starts telling you who won, you can still update the score, so we have to change the integers based right after the for loop ends. We change the integers and we use those. So now we have if x, which is player 1, is greater than y, which is player 2, then it says hands up. Then it says u, it says to player 1 and player 2, it says you, and then it displays their scores under that. And then on the right side of the screen, it says them, and it displays your opponent's score under them. So for player 1, it would say you and then player 1 score, and then on the right, it would say them and then player 2 score, and vice versa for player 2. And then after that, it tells player 1, congratulations, and then it tells player 2, better luck next time. And then it finishes the if statement and goes back to the very beginning. Now, It has the same, basically exactly the same code, except for if player 2 wins, then it says to player 1, but Alex next time, player 2, it says congratulations. And then if it's a tie, it displays the scores, and then it says close game to both players. Now, that is all, that is the entire code if you want to wait and go through the instructions each time you play the game. But after giving the game and showing it to multiple other people, they criticize the fact that after you play the game once, you know how the game works, you don't need to see the instructions, and it's frustrating to have to go to the instructions every single time you want to play the game. So I made a workaround, which is basically, after the first if statement, if you push the green button, if instead you don't press the green button and it's displaying this, and instead you push both player 1's button and player 2's button, then it skips the instruction and goes straight to ready, 3, 2, 1, go. And then it has literally exactly the same code as before, except without the instructions, providing a shorter gameplay for those who do not want to go through the instructions every single time. Okay, so now that I've done that, I will show you how the game actually works. Again, mind you, this is player 1 screen. If I turn it around, this is player 2 screen. We have a cover over here, we don't over there, because it would have been difficult to access everything. Also, the top can come off, but I would unplug a bunch of wires if I did so. So I'm not going to, but I can show you how to play the game. So I'm going to push the green button to play because that's what it's telling me to, and it's going to give me the instructions. I'll just let you see it. Again, this is exactly what I described. And then it gives me a countdown. Alright, and now usually both players would be vigorously pushing their buttons and have 20 seconds to beat the other. But I will only push it a couple times to display the fact that it works. We could push it a couple times over here, but that's really unnecessary. And then after 20 seconds pass, you will see hands up. And it'll tell me my score, which is 8, their score, which is 3, because I pushed the button 3 times, and then it says congratulations. And now let's go through the scenario. I've already played, and I don't want to watch the instructions again, so I push my button, my opponent presses their button, and it goes straight to ready, 3, 2, 1, providing for a shorter gameplay without the instructions, just as those people explained to me. Now let's say the other person wins, and I only get 3 points. After a second, you will see. Hands up. My score was 3, and their score was 9. So better luck next time. And then just for show, I'll press the same game. I'll start the same game without the instructions. And if I do nothing, both of our values will stay 0, and it will be a tie. And I'll show you what happens once there's a tie. Hands up. And my score was, obviously, 0. My opponent's 0. Close game. And that is the entirety of the gameplay. I would show you the wiring, but it is a little dark in there and a little complicated to show. The basic idea is that there's an Arduino here, and there's a breadboard over here. The 3 buttons have these special little things, but they basically act as regular buttons. You need a little soldering or extra wires to work it around. But basically, each of these little buttons needs to go to 5 volts on one pin, and on the other pin, they need to go to a digital pin and ground. So obviously, you can connect 3 pins to 5 volts because there's only one 5 volts pin on an Arduino Uno. So I had to use a breadboard. And that's really all the wiring. You'll notice that there's an RGB strip on the side, which is not illuminated, and this wire, which is connected to nothing, and if I fish it out, I can show you the RGB strip. So give me just a second while I plug in this Arduino, which is being powered by a 9-volt battery. Plugging in the battery. And then the 3 wires. And then you will see, just for show, it doesn't look so good on video, but around the edge, there is a pattern which goes around. It goes flickers, different colors, and then it does a nice little rainbow. And it goes a little into the middle, illuminating the middle for the person, for player 1, which looks pretty cool, I would say. So that is the entirety of the project. Not much else to it. I would say that this can be run without the computer connected, but I don't have a 4-pack battery on hand that can plug into that Arduino, so I can't show you, but that is how it works. It can be run completely autonomously, and if you wanted, you could put a cover on. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.